Hello and welcome. We've got an absolute treat for you today. We're going to be looking at how public speakers should be using Ecamm. And I actually have sitting in the green room here a former director of events at the White House. So bringing in the big guns today. And I'm really pleased actually with all this pressure on that the start went better than yesterday. So actually Laura didn't catch the start of yesterday's live. So I reckon she's sitting back there. She'll be able to see this. I thought it'd be quite fun just to show what actually happened at the start of yesterday's live. So just the same counter as what happened here. If those of you were on saw this, it was a complete fail. I accidentally clicked the wrong pedal under my desk. That would teach me to mess around with this, but this is what happened yesterday.
Oh,
well,
looks like we're starting.
That'll teach me. Playing with a new
Just
pedal.
chatting to Owen in the corner.
Well, hello everybody. It looks like, and that was how yesterday started. So yeah, if you want to catch that one, it's on our playlist here on YouTube, and it did get better than that. And we had a fantastic time talking with Greg actually, and yeah, it was a really good live. So I know we're going to have the same kind of thing today. Really, Laura is a great friend of ours, and we feel really honoured to have her on talking with us today. And Owen and I were saying earlier, we kind of felt we needed to make Laura feel a bit at home. And so as I get Laura to come on camera here, have a look what Owen's just come up with. Hey, Laura.
Brilliant. I feel like we're about to talk geopolitics here,
There
Adrian.
we go.
I'm ready to go.
I'm like, we can't just bring her on any old screen. We need to do this.
Thank you. Thank you, Owen. Owen Salisbury, everybody.
Look at this. Yep. So here she is. And
I love this.
I'll send you the profile afterwards if you like.
I'm ready to go. This is fantastic.
Laura,
Wow.
I obviously know who you are. Why don't you just introduce yourself a minute for our viewers that are on?
Well, hello, everybody. I came to Adrian in 2020 because I'm a professional MC and keynote speaker. So when COVID came along, all of my events and engagements went away. So I jumped into action. I searched online for someone that not only knew what they were saying, but said it in a way that I could understand, that with some of my knowledge, when it comes to television especially, I could pick up on, but who I really believed in. And that's where I watched a bunch of Adrian's videos that were available on YouTube and other places, and thought, wow, this guy has a lot to offer, and I think I can get a lot out of it. And so I joined the Pro Video Academy, and then, of course, the Ecamm Academy. And it really turned my business around. In a year that I could have lost all my engagements, it was one of the best years of my life when it came to business, because I was this one-stop shop for all my clients now, because of what I learned from Adrian. But I've got a pretty big background in television. I grew up in a photography studio. My dad's a master craftsman photographer. But as we all know, photo's different than video. But during my time at the White House, before I was the White House Director of Events, I was the White House Director of Television. So I produced and directed anything the President or First Lady did, foreign and domestic on television, live satellite feeds, satellite media tours, you name it. So I learned a lot by watching. And then I went into television as well as the speaking after the White House in 2001. So I've been in studios. I was on contract with Fox News Channel, then MSNBC, CNN, CBS, The Early Show, and now I'm with the Today Show over in Australia. You'll catch me talking about American politics, foreign policy, you name it, pop culture. We have a good time. So it's a blend of everything. And thanks to Adrian, I'm able to do it all right here.
Fantastic. I love that. And it's so many questions really going to come out of this, and I think pulling from your background, from this experience that you've got. We were talking with Greg as well yesterday. He's a regular BBC presenter over here in the UK, and I think coming from this, you've obviously been used to being in studios, having whole production teams around you. Roy Shepherd actually here in the audience along with us as well as another TV presenter. There would have been, I'm sure there could have been a sense really of coming into this going, but I need to have this team around me. I can't do this on my own. What was that transition like really, suddenly going online and...
Well, I have to say, growing up in a family business, you learn to do a lot, on your own and with those closest to you. And that's really how I approached it. At the beginning, I went into my dad's garage and got some of his older equipment and started out with that. And again, thanks to the Pro Video Academy, kept building it. But what I realized as I was building it out, I really had the information I needed that really empowered me to do it on my own. And quite honestly, Adrian, it's not on my own. You might think you're in the studio and it's just me right here in the studio I built out, or just you and Owen over there in the UK and all of us watching, right? But the great thing is about the Ecamm Academy is it really is an Ecamm community. Now there's a community at large with Ecamm, and I really appreciate their programming and the flow and all of the things that they do. But you really create this community. So I've never once felt like I was alone in the studio. Yeah. I have felt like I've had a big crew around me, and that's because of the support that you give.
Yeah, amazing. But I mean, I imagine there's probably a lot of folk. So at the point of being forced online, without wanting to keep bringing up the C word, I know not everyone likes us keep going on about it. But at this point, so you were already doing a lot of public speaking at this point, and this was really the point that we've obviously touched on the White House bit, and it's obviously cool to talk about. But it's what was that year like really coming into? You were doing a lot of international MCing.
Yeah, I mean, I used to travel, 2.5, 3 weeks out of every month.
Right.
And those were 4 engagements that I both presented a keynote on stage, like a 45-minute to 1-hour keynote, and also programs from one day to multiple days that I emceed, bringing on all of the, speakers, not just to introduce them, but to really weave in the fabric of the program. So those in the audience could, number one, be engaged, and number two, really see the mission and objective carried throughout the program and really leave with a charge at the end of it. Now, when you're on stage, you get that radiation of energy right there from the folks in front of you. And it's nice because I'm back on stages half the time again now, although everything I'm doing on stage mostly might be 500 people in the audience, but there's another, 1,000 online or 2,000 online, or, so it'll be interesting to see the dynamics going forward. Will there come a time where there's more in the audience than is online? Right now, so there's more online.
These are currently hybrids then, really. Is that how things are going at the moment?
Yeah, and I think it's really smart because event producers, companies and associations and organizations that have, traditionally the large annual conference in Las Vegas or Orlando, New York or London, instead of only doing that, they're coming back to it. But instead of the, in Vegas, 2,000 people on site or more, now it's lesser, but they're still almost reaching further because there is the attendee who just doesn't want to travel anymore, or they're not taking the time to do it, but they don't want to miss out on the education and the experience. So there are some really dynamic ways to continue doing that. And as a speaker on stage, I always want to know where those cameras are so I can engage that at-home audience, whether they're sitting by the pool, watching it on a laptop, or in their living room, or in their office. You want that viewer to feel as present and not just, start doing messages on the other side of the screen. You want to keep them engaged. So it's been a fun transition into that.
That would be really good to come on to, actually, because I think I wanted to just back it up a little bit. So we're speaking specifically public speakers today. Not that I want to, we don't have to stay locked in that, but yesterday I was talking very much with Greg, who's used to being on TV. And so he's used to looking to a teleprompter and working with this. And you've had background in this as well, but I guess that is a real shift, that not having that energy there. And I know when we really started up this academy, we had a lot of people coming in 2020 that were going, I've been public speaking, I just can't talk to a camera. Tips and thoughts into this, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. For me, let me tell you just one quick side story about President Clinton, who, again, I had the honor of serving the American people in that position and with President Clinton for 8 years. He started doing a radio address every Saturday morning at 10:06 Eastern as part of continuing communications with the country and the world, for that matter, after he became president of the United States. And the first few times he did that radio address from the Oval Office on a Saturday morning, it was pretty flat. And this is a guy who's a dynamic, charismatic speaker. Ask a Republican or Democrat alike. He just is. So they decided, let's start putting an audience in the Oval when he records that.
Okay.
And it would be volunteers, it would be some staff members, and all of a sudden his delivery changed up a bit.
Right.
And so I get that, and I think about that often. So for me, what I do is I always make sure that I've got two-way video in front of me or just to the side of me, so that I don't feel like it's just me talking to a camera. Because usually, and Roy can attest to this as well, from the BBC, oftentimes you're just looking into a dark lens. And I've been doing that since 2001. So I'm comfortable with it. You have to know that you're relaying energy, whether it's from the stage or just, a tiny lens with a camera operator, maybe a prompter guy in the back of the room. So, but you still have like a little audience. So you kind of want to create that atmosphere.
And do you feel it is that, well, I was going to say, is it the same energy? Is it the same delivery that you're trying to do? Are you recreating that live experience? But I suppose if you are doing a bit of a hybrid and you are now coming in virtually to that, are people, because it's a totally different thing, isn't it? To, we could be the kind of lives that I'm doing, really. I don't feel I need to, you're warming up the crowd. You're kind of, you're looking for those laughs, really, and you're entertaining a bit more, maybe. Do you find that is Laura different virtually than you are in person, or are you very much the same whether you're here in front of a camera or an audience?
That's a really good question. I'm exactly the same. I got to tell you, Adrian, part of me, and it's not just my brand, it's just intrinsically, is the energy and the connection and the engagement. And that's just how I am. Now, I mean, when I'm on stage, you see me in full length. When I'm here in the studio, if I'm presenting, right now I'm on a stool, so I've got good posture and I'm sitting up nice and straight. But I have the ability with the size of my studio to go ahead and do something 3/4 lengths or even full length. And so then you get all of the motions. And I'm going to use the same kind of nonverbal cues through the camera that I would have used on the stage. When I bring people into a show of which I'm hosting virtually, it's a little different. When they're the audience, you just call them out, they stand up, you warm it up. Here, depending what the format or what the platform is that we're using and what my client wants, sometimes they want interaction. Sometimes they say, oh, it's kind of it's a smaller, quieter crowd. Don't want to put anybody on the spot. But if they say, oh, this is a fun group, I'll see their name, I'll call them out, ask them to put their camera on, say hello, have some really just, not just asking them about the weather or where they're from, but maybe something interesting to get that conversation started. You still want to, kind of break the ice over the screen as well and make people feel comfortable where they are. Not everybody is. Not everybody still wants to turn their camera on. So you either make them feel comfortable and they do that, or they're fine without.
I guess that's a big part. You're touching on something else here, really, of bringing guests on and actually them maybe being really uncomfortable with. You might very much a master at doing this, but actually to bring them on, they're freaking out because they're sitting at home looking at their camera and don't know what to do. But I guess they're just talking to you at that point. I
have a lot of technology clients, and you'd think that they would be, right in there. And there, there's people that are super comfortable, other people that are not, but just need to be warmed up. And so what we do is we really take time and preparation. So that I can go ahead and go on screen, whether we're running it through Ecamm right here in the studio, or it's a platform with producers. We spend the day before kind of doing the run of show, so everybody knows when they're coming in, how I'll introduce them, so we don't talk over each other, and that it's just a good environment, and I can change up my delivery, how I'm doing it, to make sure that they're comfortable, because when they're comfortable, the audience is going to get the most out of what they have to say. And that's the reason why we're doing these shows.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a really good tip, actually, to be putting that time in up front to, and we talk about this even in the academy, to, bring in a guest on to do an interview like this, but the chance to, if you don't know what they're going to be like, and just to go through that, as you say, that run of show, talk about these things, and actually you're getting a feel for them at the same time, aren't you, as to how well they're doing.
Definitely.
And if you need to kind of tease a bit out of them or calm them down or whatever it might be. I'm conscious we haven't brought any of the...
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, and be ready for any technical glitches on the other end. I mean, we can be as sure as we are on our side. And that's part of the Ecamm Academy, to make sure that we're not just prepared with the software and the program, but the delivery of that. Yeah. And it's not always the same on the other side. So you want to be prepared to, whether that as a speaker and you're presenting, fill the time, stretch, as we call it in the business, if that has to happen, because that's part of it too.
Fantastic. I see. I'm just saying, I'm conscious we haven't brought any of these comments on here yet to have a look at, Laura. But Roy's just saying on here, energy is key. 10% more than you think is normal. Is that right? You're kind of lifting that up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, especially some. I mean, there's a difference between, for me, I just came out of an hour program I was doing for a tech company that I do every month, where we get together their partners, just about 20 of them. They're all in their offices globally, and we talk about different initiatives and programs and have them share. For that, it's more of, oh, this is great conversation. Now you've done something like this. I'm going to dial it back just a little bit, not to take the energy or connection out of it, but you want to kind of match what you're doing so that you can stand out while fitting in. I think it's a fine line. So I agree.
David Lawrence in our Pro Video Academy came and met us the first time we went to San Diego, and he came down and took us out for a meal. And halfway through this meal, he went, "You're actually exactly the same in real life as you are." He said, "I assumed this energy was kind of hyped up for being on camera, but he said, I realize you're just like this."
Yeah. But I think we all are who we are, and we should not let the lens change that.
But
because whether it's a professional, then you're being hired for who you are.
Yeah.
Especially when it's that, or even if it's not an engagement that has a financial transaction to it, let's call it, but you're being brought on to just you want to be who you are. That's, and you know what, sometime, you might meet the person like they did you in San Diego. You're going to be in 3D, again, and you want to be that. You want to be consistent with that.
That's right. But and I get that, and I've heard of saying that before, that actually it's more that the lens kind of takes that energy out. You need to ramp it up a bit more, because somebody's watching you through the lens, there's almost that, it's like it's taking some of that energy out by the time they're seeing you, rather than seeing you in person. But and
that's why eye contact is so very important.
Yeah, love it. And what's the tip for? Well, actually, no, we'll hang on with that one, because we're going to have a look around your studio in a minute and just see how you're doing this. Just checking we're not missing anything. Valerie says, absolutely, the upfront time is extremely important.
Valerie's a longtime member of the Ecamm community. Hi, Valerie. I think we might have been in the first in the 2020.
Yeah, Valerie's one of our moderators now. Her and Paul are going to be coming back in. I was just on a call with them about half an hour ago. So Valerie, sorry, that came on and disappeared. Valerie's just saying, how much time do you spend before with your guests? What do you ask them to do? What is that like?
About a half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, about a half an hour. I mean, I'll definitely want to get to the questions that we're going to be discussing on camera, so that I can ensure that they're prepared for the questions. Maybe there's a question that the company or they sent me a week before that now is a hot button issue they want to stay away from. So I want to confirm the questions I'm going to ask. And by the way, when I create questions and collaborate on scripting with my client, I want to ensure that I'm asking the questions of which the answers will communicate the message they need to reach that audience. So I want to confirm that what we're discussing has meaning to it, to that audience, that it's relevant and relatable. So we're really keeping people engaged. The second thing I want to do really on that call, though, is just making sure that they know how, when, and where to dial in, that they are prepared on their side technically. And then let's just get relaxed and walk through the program, so there are no surprises, and they can come in feeling really positive about it. So there's that emotional prep, there's the physical prep, and then there's the content prep. I guess you could really boil it down to those three things.
I can imagine it's a comfort for them as much as anything to know, right, I'm going to get a chance to talk to Laura. I've got a list of questions that I need to ask. I've never done this before. Yeah, totally.
And if it takes longer than 30, we always buffer my time so that, I don't have to race away, in most cases anyway.
Yeah, excellent. Now, Mitch says down here, your energy is addictive and magnetic. What a compliment.
Thank you. You know what? With my short hair, I could go to a barber academy, probably.
Do you know, I very nearly, Laura, I was talking to Greg yesterday and I'm saying, I could almost match Laura. I reckon my hair's as long if I...
Funny, I was going to wear a black t-shirt. So that would have been fabulous.
Well, when Greg actually came and met us in person yesterday, and as it happened, Owen was in a black t-shirt and so was Rach in a black top as well. And he walked in and he went, "Oh, so it's proper family uniform, is it?"
That's fantastic.
I live in black t-shirts, but the rest of them, that was just coincidence.
You always match.
So I think it's time. Let's have a little look, because there's a lot of other questions, a lot of little paths I want to lead down, really. Obviously, Ecamm's given you very much an advantage here, or
yes.
It's not all Ecamm, I get that, but you've kind of used Ecamm, really taken the best out of it here, and it must have really given you an advantage actually, because you've and with your experience with your dad helping you out as well, to create something there that makes you very attractive for somebody looking for an MC or a keynote speaker, that you can go, we know Laura's going to be able to show up. We don't have to check in. We don't have to be taking her down to a local studio or anything. So you've created this space at home that we're going to have a little look around. Is that right?
Absolutely. The first space I created was in a guest room of our condo. And then the space that we're in now is part of a 1,500 square foot space that we purchased during COVID in order to give me more space and studio options for my clients. So with a larger space, we're able to have them fly in props. I can be on the same chair as the executives over in South Korea or in London or New York, things like that. So we expanded that space, but I have to tell you, the space in which I'm using now, really is ample for anything. I use Ecamm, by the way, in three ways. One, I use it when I'm speaking, whether keynote or MC, and there is a production company that's switching on a platform other than Ecamm. I just use my Ecamm virtual camera out so that I can do everything that I want to do in Ecamm, and I send that out for an actual show and live. Sometimes live to tape, and then I'll send them, the recording. But mostly everything I do basically is live. The second way I use it is that if I'm interacting with my clients, my partners, over whatever platform for a meeting, a pre-meeting, or maybe they're still in their selection process and I get to come in looking like this, very professional. They get that they don't have to rent out a studio or fly me somewhere else. And so they're seeing a cost savings, but they're also seeing a great productive concept. And then lastly is that I now offer a studio series to a lot of my partners in which I use Ecamm and the interview program in which to bring them in and really package a show for them, and then dual purpose the content to create a podcast for them, so that whether it's a program I'm doing with them and their executives for external use to send to their clients, or it's an internal program that we're recording that's of use to their internal folks, I produce it all out of here. And then they're able to now have a high-end kind of television show that they never had before. And they've got a customer base that now is used to seeing engagement like that, but it can't just be Zoom. You got to take it up a notch, right? And then number two, a podcast that they didn't have before. I'm also really techie and I love this stuff. So anyway, I'll show you around.
Before you do, actually, sorry, I was just going to
me.
clarify for those that don't appreciate that Ecamm does this. So, I mean, we're messing around here. We've got some overlays, and I'm cutting between different scenes here in Ecamm. But what you're saying here, Laura, is when I get to the end of this and we end off our live, I'm not only going to get this recording, but I'm going to get a clean feed of me, and I'm going to get a clean feed of Laura coming in like this. As well as this mix here and the audio as well. So yes, as Laura's saying, if we wanted to do a podcast, there will be my microphone, Laura's microphone. We could balance it. If I were to cough and mess it up something this end, then we could just cut to Laura's bit, and super powerful. And these are fairly new features that have just come into Ecamm that
right.
you and I are looking
Academy
going.
Is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sorry, let's have a quick look around then, Laura. I'm itching to have a look at your studio.
Excellent. So I'll show you the studio, and then I'll show you the way in which I use the studio. So I've just switched on a scene here. This is my iPhone, so excuse the lack of steady cam. So this is what I'm looking at right now. And what I have here is I've got a crank desk, because I don't trust anything that's electronic. I want everything hardwired or easy to use. So here's a little crank desk if I want to be behind a desk. Over here, I've got my monitor plus my Mac Mini and my Rodecaster Pro 2 on a really cool gator stand that is used often for bands. I got it online at B&H Photo Video. And then in front of me, before I go into the lighting, I've got a teleprompter, and that's from Prompter People. It's a professional prompter with a stationary monitor on the bottom. I mean, this is going to run about $1,400, but it really does me a lot of good because I can run the prompter with a foot pedal if I have a script to, go through. Something like this, I just go ahead, and it's an extended monitor, right? And now I'm able to have you in, so I can look you right in the eye the entire time, which is really great for me when I'm doing the Today Show in Australia. The anchors are in that camera, or another organization, so I can be engaged, right? It makes it easier.
Absolutely.
And you also notice I've got another screen up here. I use this just for certain shows. It was just a pretty inexpensive monitor that I just have on a tiny kind of dinky stand there. It's plugged in by USB-C, so it's a third display. So, I mean, I can have notes up there, or if I'm working with a client and they want to share a Google Doc with me and feed me questions that are coming in the chat that they want me to ask their folks, I can go ahead and do that. So it's a nice way to just have it where you're not losing eye contact. I don't have to look back here. I just slightly cheat to the left. You can see I've got some soundproofing on the wall. Yeah.
I was just going to, I'm going to jump in here. And can I just encourage people, if you want to ask a question in here, do so. Well, Laura's able to have a look around. We can answer things for you on this. I'm actually doing exactly the same thing here in that I've got a teleprompter and I'm looking at that same preview screen in front of me with some notes up there. I really like that you've got that monitor on there as well. Something that we've...
Yeah, the monitors. Yeah, it's just because I'm not really moving this around a bunch.
The one to the side where you've got your notes there.
Oh, yeah.
One of the benefits that I see, you've got this further back than what I have it. I can almost touch I can touch the teleprompter here in front of me. Yours is further back, allowing you to get that full height shot.
Yeah, about 5 feet. About 5 feet in front of me, about 6 feet in back of me.
Yeah. And so one of the things that's given you, of course, is you're looking down. I have to keep my teleprompter quite tight in, else my eyes are going away. And if I'd got that to the side of me, I'm going to be looking over here for those notes, whereas that distance is a real benefit to be able to have that. And if I couldn't do it I'd have a monitor right in the front here, but I love the setup you've got. And I guess that's the difference. You're recreating more that view of you standing there without anything in front of you. Those monitors are around. I think that's a fantastic setup.
Thanks. I mean, it works well for me. Everybody's going to have their own use and purpose for it. And that's why I like you're doing these videos, whether you're a fitness instructor, et cetera. There are great uses.
And it's actually the same setup and equipment, really. It's, the light stand you've got, the light you've got, the camera. Yeah, it's all what we do in Pro Video. And I love the flexibility of that. I was actually just
And
showing.
by the way, I run it all, from here. I've got my remote for the Go Docs.
Yep.
I've got my remote for the kick light in front of me usually when this desk isn't here and I'm standing here. That's just a really nice trick in the studio, just to get some nice uplighting under your chin. It's very flattering. And then as far as lighting goes, so you've got the big lantern. We've got this. I've got another softbox that has the egg crate in front of it in case I'm using a lot of color. Cool. And then behind me, I've got a nice little backlight to give me separation from the background. A great hair light here, which is great. Now, in the case of today, and I'll show you a picture of the background behind here. This is just gray paper.
Yeah,
it's a gray paper roll I have up.
I think, sorry, speak over you. I think a lot of people will be probably thinking that's a blue wall you've got behind you, but it's actually gray that you're shooting a blue light to.
Yep. And the cool thing about gray is it absorbs any color that you put on it. So right now, I'm putting blue onto it because the client I was working with last, that's their logo color. I think those are newer lights. Yeah. The 800D RGB. You can get all the different colors of the spectrum. So if it is in a case where just they want a plain background, let's match it to their logo colors or maybe their overlays that they're using. Yeah. So it works out really, really well. I love that gray paper. It's incredibly versatile and it's not green screen, especially with my hair being light. It's always tough to find the right transparency behind me. So it doesn't look like green screen.
That's right. You could use it for green screen, couldn't you? Because you can actually shine that RGB green behind you.
Yes, and it does work. I tried it. I did the RGB green on the gray, and then versatile. I flipped up, a background, and it totally worked. I also have a green screen back there, but I don't have to use it anymore because of this. I've got sound dampening cloths. These are 32 pounds a piece. There are 2 on this side, and there's another 2 on this side, just held up with clamps. And I'm using the 𝗪𝘂𝗺𝗃 system so that it's up off the floor. I'll probably go ahead and use the impact clips, clamps to get these off the floor too at some point. And then Laura, I've got some more soundproofing on top.
Would you just show us that? These clamps are like, I showed this to Greg yesterday when he was here and was blown away. He'd never seen these before.
Yeah, so the cool thing is Manfrotto has one, Impact has some, and 𝗪𝘂𝗺𝗺.
Yeah,
and
𝗪𝘂𝗺𝗺 are the ones that we've got.
Rod. Yeah, it's kind of like a shower curtain. And it's not even that heavy. And I think it can, don't quote me on this, but online, it holds X amount of pounds or kilos if it's horizontal, a different load if it's vertical. I use it horizontal. Yeah. And I've got 3 right here, and it just works super well to just put into place. You get it as close as possible, and then this is in the down position, and then you clip it up, and it just extends it that much longer to really get it tight.
With those super clamps that you've got up there, you could attach lights, microphones, cameras, the likes of 𝗘𝗃, who was on yesterday, a couple of days ago, with an overhead camera and things. Sure. You can do so much. And you're right, that upright as well. We've even found that when we, whoops, I'm cutting to the wrong. Hang on. Sorry, it's in the middle of a transition. There it goes. We've said to people as well, when they've got, if your desk is against the wall and you haven't got room to put a tripod in, those poles are fantastic for that you can actually push it onto the ceiling and the floor, and then you can attach things to it in the same way that you and I have got these C-stands and attached everything to them.
It's fantastic. It gets stuff. But my dad, when I was a kid, had a master rail system, so nothing was on the floor. So I wanted to recreate that as much as I could from his studio. The only other thing I'll show you is that I run my scenes. You just were talking about foot pedals. You're using foot pedals right now? Yeah, so my foot pedals when I'm in this position. Okay, well, I'm wearing my cute socks so that everybody can sort of see where my feet are. Fantastic. So these are my pedals, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And it's the Elgato. I wish there was a 4th, to be honest. I wish there were even 5. I could use them because you're kind of limited to just a few scenes, because when I am doing that studio series that I just remarked about, and I took off branding of anybody right here, but I've got my, welcome to, such and such. We're great, grateful to have you with us today. Today we're going to be talking about with Adrian. So I would have, my guest in there and we'd be speaking. Then I'd ask a question. Then I would foot pedal to the response, come back, really engage, ask another question, go back, and then, engage and close it on out. And that's how I like to do it so that I don't have to do any post editing. I could if I wanted to, and I know how to do it. I've learned it both from the PVA Academy, from wait, do you do that in Pro Video Academy?
Yes.
ScreenFlow? Yeah.
Yes.
I really, it's a great, simple system. I use iMovie just because I've used it forever and Final Cut. But it's nice not to have to edit. Yes. And then, but knowing that you can if you need to. And then just the last thing I want to show you is my other background.
Hang on. I haven't got this on the stream yet. That was the last minute. Yep.
Okay, good deal. Sorry. Yeah, this was last minute. So anyway, this is just what I'm feeding now. I went to another scene. I've got me in the corner. And so this is what I was doing.
Is this behind that?
Yeah, this is behind the gray. You pull up the gray, and then these are fabric panels about 18 inches by 18 inches that have a self-sticking back. They're 3D. They're not flat. And I really
love that look,
like using that too. Yeah, it's bright, but again, this I was using this, so I kept it up. But I really I like the bright. So
fantastic. Anthony's saying love this.
Thanks. It's taken 2.5 years to put it together.
So we've got, and there is, and again, guys, please post away in here. We're going to jump through a few of these now. Streamer Live says...
The foot pedal can do a lot of things, not just scenes. You can set that up to do anything you want.
Yeah.
Go between apps on your Mac, everything.
Well, yeah, when we first got this one, I'm going to pull that back up and stop it auto disappearing.
Good.
When we first got our one, Owen set it up, and I think he was just using it with his with Spotify, just kind of playing music and things. And there is...
How awesome.
I don't think people appreciate, we talk about Stream Decks, around Ecamm and using them for this, but you're right. This is a tool that can be used on any of these devices. Mm-hmm. We would Greg was suggesting yesterday that with an auto cue, potentially you could be going forwards and backwards on an auto cue, I'm sure.
With the prompter people that I use, and Ecamm does, there's a lot of prompter folks out there. It's just basically what you need. When I first started, I had an iPad prompter similar to yours, and I used a little Bluetooth remote. Because of the live shows, I don't like using anything that's not hardwired. Yeah. So the nice thing is with the prompter people, it's a program called FlipQ for Mac. And so I go ahead, save as text, edit, put it in here. I can do this. It's exactly like what you have in the studio. You can put the black background, white text, and I've got a 3-pedal foot pedal from them, and I'm able to forward, backwards, speed up, slow down. It's that instead of having a separate operator. It's that. So I've got my remotes for the lights.
Yes.
I've got some pedals hooked up for the scenes, and then I've got 3 pedals for the prompter. So
fantastic. Yeah. I've got this question up here that I've left up. Any tips on how one could capture a live online audience's collective feedback, as you would as an in-person event where you might ask folks for a show of hands?
Oh yeah, we use a lot of polling. We'll throw out a poll to the audience, and then I'll talk about it.
Would this typically be in Zoom, or what platforms are you going out?
You know what? A lot of times it's a separate production company that is like on the vMix platform or something like that, and then they
one of the sort of conference
employ
apps.
Their own tools exactly. Especially when you've got 1,000 people logging in. You've got to make sure. So a lot of times it's going out on a separate platform like that. But
are you
polling
those?
A lot of times.
Are you kind of putting those in and saying these are the polls I want to be bringing in and?
Yes, but the company and I, coordinate all of that prior. We start working on that a couple months prior, as they start to see what they need to really relate to that audience, and then we find really dynamic ways. Polling, it's at least a way to get them to check something. But then if there's someone that added in, or the first person answering something, or maybe it's a trivia question, so we keep it mixed up, and then I can call out to that person's name. People love hearing their names. They love seeing it on the
Absolutely.
screen, which is good. I love hearing my name when it's called out.
Yes.
So, I mean, Adrian, if you mention me like on PVA when we're on our Pro Video Academy calls, or I put a question into Adrian, he's like, "Oh, Laura's got a question." I'm like, "Yes, I do," and it just feels great, you know. So I know what makes me happy. It's going to make others happy.
And I'm the same. You know, I clocked onto this some years ago, really, when I was on one of the Ecamm lives, and all of a sudden Glenn will go, "Oh, Adrian's on with us today," and you know, that kind of makes me think, "Oh, yes, cool." How nice.
A little straighter, like, "Yes, I am. I'm here and ready to learn." Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is, absolutely. I think this question we've probably already answered, really. Quick hacks on how to ensure you're looking at the camera and not down, something like a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
So this
just throwing the Zoom into the prompter. And you know, this prompter, like I said, there's a lot of different forms of prompters. There's even prompters small enough to use an iPhone. The Parrot prompter, right, from a while back.
Yes, that's right.
So it's going to be smaller, you know, for your field of vision.
Yeah.
I use, mine is 14 inches.
Yep. Well,
12 or 14.
Yeah, I'm pushing this up onto an iPad, just to come in from my side, really, answering this question as well. Because I'm closer into this, I don't want to have that distance. It would be catching my monitor. This is sort of where I'm working.
Yeah.
Might have a go at changing this up,
some of the
actually,
websites, they tell you based on what your distance is from the prompter, what size prompter you should have. Because that's a very valid point when it comes to prompter work. Yeah,
because otherwise you're doing this, or you're pulling it in and you're not using this space that you've got.
Right. And I've been working in television studios since the White House in 2001 on camera, both in studios where you're interacting with other people, but also when I filled in for Larry King as his guest host, you know, I'd be speaking with people just through a lens or next to me at the desk with the microphone. So you know, you have different comfort levels. And I've got one with prompters, but that's because I've been working with them for so long. But there's, you know, take a day, take an afternoon, you know, record, play back. That's the nice thing about Ecamm. I will do that often just to make sure that my line of sight is with the camera. And what you may not have seen underneath me, because I often stand instead of sit, I have made sure that whether I'm standing, my eye level is exactly there. Or if I'm sitting on this 32-inch stool, I have got these little mats underneath me that you get from just a local, you know, Menards or Lowe's or Home Depot, to bring the chair up so that whether I'm seated looking in the camera or I'm standing looking at the camera, I'm the same gaze every time. I don't have to put my camera up and down.
Yeah. That's a real pro
and you know,
tip
if you've
right
got
there.
if you have a stool that goes up or down, sometimes that sinks a little. So that's why I just have a standalone metal stool with a nice little cushion on top.
Fantastic. That's a really, I hope you guys, those of you that are also standing and sitting instead of kind of moving things up and down, and the background, you know, that's another thing. Obviously, you've got a plain background there, but if folk have got a bookshelf behind them or something, all of that changes if you suddenly go from sitting to standing. So that's a really good tip there.
I like it. Thanks.
Really, I've shown that we can take small space, and build an entirely next level. It is absolutely, and I think this is why I love to see this. You know, if folk are thinking there's some big studio production space there, like they're used to seeing on the TV and the behind the scenes there, and to actually turn potentially a spare room into a space like this.
And like I said, we've got 1,500 square feet. So the other two rooms are larger. And we've had production companies come in and bring their own equipment to do really, you know, large stuff with the scrims and more things. But I have to say, for what I do day to day, I really like the smaller setup. It's really soundproof. And you can do more inside of it. You have to put out other layers of things when you have a larger space, which we can do. But this works super well.
Yeah, definitely. Sherry's just saying so much envy right now. I didn't want to
years of work, but I love it too.
Sam's just asking what camera. This is your
ZV-10.
ZV-10, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. From Sony
exactly the
with the Sigma lens. Yeah.
Yes.
And then I do the Sigma. You know, I always put it on that 1.4 aperture. With the background like this, doesn't really matter. I'm not blurring
That's
anything
right.
out. But with
Yeah.
like that white one that I showed before, you can tell that the flowers are blurred, and et cetera.
Mitch is just saying, what were the extendable poles?
𝗪𝘂𝗃𝗃,
Sherry's just answered it, actually.
𝗪𝘂𝗃𝗃.
There it is.
Good.
They're answering each other out here.
Love it.
Slido Roy says is amazing for polling far more. Yeah, well done. That was my fault for not lining you up properly.
No, I saw that it was cropped. So look at that. I just slid it in.
Okay, so people can do that and join in from their phones
Slido.
then. Nice one. With
Yes,
all those
I've
controls
used
and
that
pedals,
before.
it's like flying a plane.
It is.
But you
feel
get
like
to learn
you
it,
need a
don't you?
license.
Yeah. It's like anything,
Yeah,
isn't
where's
it? It
my
might
pilot's hat?
might be daunting at first, but then it's you
Practice.
get to have it all
Practice.
there, and it's
Do
actually
those
working
lives.
for you.
Do that. You know, when Adrian talks about the lives in the Ecamm Academy, it's that's where you learn so much.
Yeah.
So
Thank
take
you.
advantage of that.
And we'll talk about that in just a minute. This, I think, as well, you know, just really sort of, I want to touch on that main point, or come back really to that main title of what this is about, why public speakers should be using Ecamm like this. I think you have very much answered that. But it's awesome that you can do this, and actually you can, show up and have a set like this, be able to do all these controls and things as you were demonstrating earlier, how you can cut between those different scenes with people. It's an awesome tool, isn't it, for being able to do this? And I would think it really sets you head and shoulders above a lot of others who would be going, well, all I've got is my webcam.
I think there was a time when people were a lot more, forgiving. When what now is a pandemic, just broke out. People just, turned on a Zoom camera. You were wherever you were because you were working, and you were were trying to keep everybody together and engaged in a way that was face to face. Now, I think just shortly after that, I think Zoom fatigue is real.
Yeah.
And you've got to give purpose, and sometimes that purpose is changing out the background. Sometimes it's pulling in a scene. It's making somebody, like right now, when I bring a partner on and we're having a discussion and I have them come into the interview mode instead of doing a Zoom, they just feel like they've leveled up themselves.
Yeah.
And they see it. And it's just a wonderful feeling. I mean, I truly believe that when we help others achieve, we achieve ourselves. Yeah, and I wrote a book, Eat, Drink, and Succeed. That's a big part of it, that it's positive, powerful partnerships. And I think that's what we can do. We can empower people by just using this technology, whether that be for a moment of their day or a full-on event. It doesn't matter. It really has a purpose to it.
Fantastic. I love that. Thank you. So I think we'll try and come to land a little bit on this after talking about our pilots, controls, and things. Laura, I know, has come, you've very much enjoyed Ecamm and the academies, and this is a big part of why we're doing this week. We're about to open up again on Monday and do our next take on the Ecamm Academy, and everything's changed. I don't know how you found version 4 all of a sudden. I
love it.
I was getting customers coming back going, where's the record button gone? It's all, I don't know where it is now. And I genuinely think people will be, well, partly there's a lot of things added in that you might not even realize are there. And so we're encouraging people to come back through and make sure they catch all these things. And also just to feel comfortable and familiar again using this. It's awesome, isn't it? I'm loving this latest update.
It really is. It's just taken everything to the next level. There are things that you think, oh, I wish I could do that. And then boom, Ecamm either has it in an update or a beta version. And I've been using the beta version for quite a while. And then so when they rolled out 4, I thought they did a wonderful job. And, the Ecamm community, whether it's right here within the Ecamm Academy or ecamm.com, they listen to the feedback. That's why I'm putting out there that Elgato should make a 5-pedal stream deck, because maybe they will.
Yeah.
You got to put it out in the universe. But this Ecamm 4, I mean, it's professional. Yeah. It's production studio worthy. It has been for a long time, but it's just, even if you use 1% of what Ecamm offers. And that's what I started out doing. And now I do a studio series with my clients. I do it's amazing. But for a while there, I just want to make sure I could get on and look good. And we did that. And then it's like, ooh, now I can take it up a notch. And that's what we do at the Academy.
And that absolutely, I think this, we're playing around here. What we're doing here, Owen's made some of these out in Keynote and sort of brought things in as layers to build this up in here. But it's not only us, there's other folk. Every time we do an Academy, there's people in there that are pushing the boundaries and you go, oh, I'd never thought of doing that way before. And I remember seeing somebody who they'd actually put themselves in a little circle inside their Facebook profile. So it looked like it was their Facebook profile page, but it was like this little interactive, and it's just little things that or maybe there's little emojis going up the screen on an intro and you go, oh, and it's just this lovely creative space. Valerie's put it in here actually, that the Academy will be a perfect place to practice using the teleprompter, immediate feedback from the community. Of all the things, our Ecamm Live Academy, for those that don't know about it, Owen's going to drop a link in here to the Academy, 𝗏𝗏𝐿iveacademy.com. But it's so much more. We've got we're saying we've just redone all the videos. We've got nearly 70 videos that we've just re-recorded that will take you from unboxing Ecamm right through to using these stream decks and things. We cover everything there in a library, but it's so much more than that because quite a bit of that content we put out to YouTube anyway. It's this community, isn't it? And you've been in and experienced it. It's a safe place is what we like to really promote. This is, if someone is struggling and worrying about using, doing things or playing around, going live, bringing on comments, whatever level it is they're at. We're obviously talking to some advanced users this week, yourself included. And but I think, to create that space, but to be...
there's no judgment here. And everybody comes in at different levels. And, when I was talking before about when I present, you want to meet people where they are so they can become engaged and have a takeaway, whether they're established in the industry for years or just coming in, right? You want to meet them where they are so everybody has something to take away. And that's how I felt Ecamm Academy was for me. It really met me where I was. And now I'm at a different place. So it takes me to that next level as well. And as far as the library of all those videos you just redid, I can't wait to watch them. And I will watch them all. Even the stuff that I know that I do, I'm going to pick something else up. But I go back to those videos. I got to tell you, a couple days ago, I wanted to reset my white balance here in the studio manually. So I went into my Kajabi page for you, Adrian, and I went to my Pro Video Academy, and I just went down to that bonus little video about setting, and I did it with you right here in the studio. So I go back to these as resources a lot. But then it's that community, those lives that accompany every Ecamm Academy lesson day. Those lives are just important.
And that's where I'm coming on. So we're each day we're saying, right, here's today's videos being dripped out to you. Go away and work through them at your own time, your own pace. And I love, we deliberately do that rather than me trying to teach on a live. And if you miss something, you've then, you've got to try and keep up with the teacher in that sense. You can pause it. You can do your bit on Ecamm. You can play it again. You can watch it again, speed me up, slow me down. It just really works. And what we've done as well this time for our alumni coming back through is we've reset everything inside the Academy because they are brand new videos. So in the past, when alumni have come back through and they've gone, well, I've already watched these videos, and even if you've purchased this 2 years ago, it's going to be completely reset, and we're all going to be on the same page. Day one is all anyone's going to see. So,
by the way, I love completing a lesson because it says completed.
Oh,
because I love checking things off my list. I love checking things off my list.
Can I give away something that we've just added into the Academy? Is Owen okay that I give this? We've now got within the dashboard in the Academy, there's some little badges in there. So when you complete each level, you're going to have a little badge appear inside there to show off that
I'm going to try to go for every one of them, Adrian.
Valerie's just said this. I was on a call with Valerie earlier and she said, I'm going to be all on that, trying to make sure I answer everything. Maybe we should make it visible to everybody that we can all see. Is Laura keeping up?
I tell you, it would really light a fire under me.
Everyone's going to be staying up late. I should be getting all of the partners coming back telling me off. My wife, my husband's been,
Exactly.
I love it.
That's awesome. Cool.
So thank you so much. I'm just seeing, so glad made the investment to come in here. Yeah, I promise you we're so proud of our academy. It's and for folk like Laura and others to come through this, and we've just made incredible friends along the way. And I think you're looking in here, recognizing names. I'm doing it. Others are doing it. It's we're making lifelong friends in here. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I've been in every Ecamm Academy with you since 2020, and I do it every time because it's a refresher. This time I think is more important than ever because of the big update. But I'm very much looking forward, especially to next week. I'll be joining you every day, and I'm sure I'm going to have questions to ask you too, Adrian, and be there for everybody else.
You'll be excited when I call your name out.
I will. It always gives me chills. It's true.
What we're actually trying this time, again, while we're talking about this conversation of presenting online and doing these things, one of the things that we're trying out, we did it recently in a very busy live stream, and it'll be like this on Monday when we're going live in the group. Actually, how do you cope with the comments and the questions and things? We've got some Valerie, Paul, Owen will be moderating in the group, and sometimes I'm looking at a question and going, and then didn't realize that Paul's just answered it 5 minutes ago. So we're playing with, and I'm looking at your document on the side there thinking that would work well for us. Is on my screen at the side of me, we're agreeing that we're going to have this Google document that any of the moderators can drag a question in there if they think this is one that needs to be answered live rather than it's just a quick
and you can be everywhere around the world. That's worked really well for us. We've thought about using Slack, but the font is a little too small. We've thought about using all different kinds of things. The nice thing about
come back to the basics.
Google Docs, I know,
I can put it in a nice big font.
You're done.
So that's the plan. That's how we're going to be doing it.
Good.
But so please come and join us if you haven't been through. Laura's going to be in there. I'll be in there. All the other guys that you've seen this week. And just a little reminder, actually, if you didn't catch any of the lives that we've been doing this week, they're here on our channel. Please subscribe, and you'll see all these notifications coming up for them. But watch back the lives. We've had fitness. We've had 𝗂𝗃 doing art. We've had Greg on talking about communicating and some really good tips in there as well. Thank you for being our finale, really, and wrapping up this little 4-part series. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Much, and I'm really excited. Thanks for the comments, everybody, and I look forward to interacting with all next week. Yeah,
we'll have a great time. So thank you so much, all, and doors closed Sunday night. We'll be in there Monday morning, ready to go. So it would be lovely to see as many of you as possible. Thank you so much, and we'll say good night. Thanks, Laura.
Night.